Hey everyone, Clay here from Cinematic Suffering. Welcome to part two of our Bits and Chunks segment with our buddy, notable horror expert Tony Salvaggio. We left off talking about fictional horror versus the real stuff. Good talk, let's get back into it.
I have a friend who experienced some trauma, and I saw what's Ari Aster's first movie? Before the one before Midsummer.
Hereditary.
Hereditary, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh and I watched that and I told it like he's into horror movies, and I was like, dude, Hereditary's not your movie. Like
Yeah,
I
like
know,
you're
like
not gonna
I
like
told
it.
him because I knew what he had been through, and there was a part in that movie where I literally told him like this is a well done movie, but don't. I'm telling you for your psyche, this is not for you. And
Right.
I kind of let him. He can decide. He's also an adult, but
Right.
that's the kind of things I think about, and I'm not expecting somebody who's younger who hasn't. And also sometimes for a lot of people, in the same way that we listen to metal as catharsis, there is a you choose your own adventure. So for some people,
Right.
like working through their stuff means an extreme horror movie, because guess what, I'm working through my stuff.
Right, right.
So,
Or it's
and I
just
think, and it provides that catharsis. Like,
it does.
look,
It's
man, when
it's
I
it's
saw Trick or Treat in what, 88 or whatever,
love the movie.
87, like I was like, yes, I'm being picked on metal, but I don't want to sick Sammy Kerr on people. But boy did it feel like they understand me, or like being an
They got
outsider,
it.
like Lost Boys, stuff like that, where you
Yeah.
but that, horror provides that mirror for us to work through our stuff a lot of times. So
Absolutely.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna I it's hard for me to also judge, like, if you are working through your stuff through horror, I don't want to tell you what's
No,
off
it's
limits or what is. And that's always kind of how but it's I love that we have this genre that has so many voices.
yeah,
And
definitely.
again, the film festival thing, like that's the other thing, is seeing world cinema or world horror, like horror from all over the world, or
Oh,
genre cinema.
yeah, I
And I
love
think
foreign
that's
horror.
fantastic. Like,
Yeah, me too. It gives
because
you
you're
kind of a
seeing what
glimpse
people,
into the culture,
yeah,
into other cultures and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Uh, you know, like for example, I met, we're not hangout friends, but have you seen Baskin?
I think I have. What? Tell me what the
Uh,
plot is, real quick, and I'll
it's kind of
ring
a
a bell.
group of friends go to a house, and bad things start to happen.
No, maybe
It's
not.
kind of the really basic plot. But I met the
Right, right.
director of that. He's from Turkey, and talked to him, and I had got to ask questions like, well, what's this mean to you? What's this? But it was also this commonality, because I was like, hey, so this group of friends is like, yeah, there's bits of my friends that are in those
Right.
characters.
Those are
Like,
my
I based them
buddies.
off my
That's
friends group.
right,
Um,
right.
there's this really, this guy with this really iconic face. I was like, where'd you find that guy, man? Like, and he was like, look, he was like, I think, don't hold me to this, but if I remember correctly, he was like a parking attendant or somebody he found, like, where he's like, this guy looks like this is whoa, this guy's doesn't have like a normal face, but would he
Yeah.
be interested in being in this film and really like playing to that? Because that's also the other way. Like, you could talk to somebody and they would seem really considerate, like, hey, you're a weirdo. Come be in my movie. Like, you don't want to
Oh,
be
well,
that, but
I
also
mean,
like his like, hey, would you like to star in a movie, and really kind of like take over, really put your persona out there, was kind of how he approached it.
yeah, yeah. Well,
And
the actor from the second Human Centipede movie jumps to mind. That dude has got like just one of the most recognizable faces that you're ever going to see. You know who I'm talking about, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that dude. I'm trying to see what his name is here. Lawrence R. Harvey Martin. Or is that no?
Hmm.
That's his character is Martin. His name is Lawrence R. Harvey. That guy, is just well. And who was the actor in The Hills Have Eyes? You know who I'm talking about? The
Oh
guy.
man, he's so iconic, and I'm
He
so bad
is.
with names, which is also
Yeah.
what I hate about me being not as scholarly. Like, I'm never the super cinema guy who's like, oh, well, that guy was the second DP on, you know, such and such movie.
Yeah, it's like, no, I did not know that. Michael Berryman, and he's great.
Yeah, Michael, he's awesome. Yeah, he's super fan, like, just, and and he used, you know, he did take that and kind of use it. He's been in so many iconic roles, like when we were growing up through that. He's been on so many iconic roles just based on, you know,
right. It's like, I know
hey,
what
look,
I look like. I know, and he used it. It's, you know, I mean, which is which kind of brings up a whole other kind of ethical thing. But I mean, the yeah, like, but the thing is, horror fans love the dude. He was kind of like, I felt like a lot of horror fans felt about him the way that they felt about Sid Haig or one of those other kind
oh,
of
absolutely.
luminaries of horror.
Well, it helps to, if you're cool, and you know that, you know, being cool and going, you know, being a person who goes to cons, like, and like, hey, this is really iconic person.
It was really nice to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I was talking on another podcast. We were watching Universal stuff, so like Jungle Captive, for example, has a character actor from the time called Rondo Hatton, who plays this brute man, and he's the brute, and he has a very, like, he had acromegaly, and so that changes his body type and his face
You're
and
right.
everything. And you know, he took roles, whether I haven't read a lot about whether they were exploitative, you know, like, hey, you're weirdo, come in this, you know, I hope it wasn't like that, but he
No, I don't.
he took these roles in, like, you know, kind of gangstery kind of stuff and horror, and really played that up. And we you know, I talked a lot about how, you know, owning that and kind of being in there was fascinating, because he really does bring this whole different iconography to his roles, you know.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's kind of like where you know, finding your tribe where you fit in can also be that, you know, for horror, it provides, you know, again, I hate when it's kind of more exploitative, but also there can be a, hey, I own this, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this and be like, do the best acting I can and really push it in this area. Being a character actor, you know, can be really, you know, shed light on this. And yeah, you get pigeonholed into certain roles, but
But I
man,
mean,
does he look like he's having fun every time? I don't know.
yeah.
He looks like
Yeah.
he's having fun at conventions. So
Like you said, it's like, as long as you embrace it, and I think, like what you mentioned, is being kind to the fan base is kind of crucial. Like, I met when I met Jeffrey Combs, that was a great moment, because the guy was so nice, and I was like, God, man, I'm talking to Jeffrey Combs. It's friggin', you know, Herbert West from the Reanimator. This is amazing.
oh yeah, the cool
That
people
was,
are cool.
yeah,
I was in a green room at this one con, and you know, Peter Davison, the Doctor Who, was
yeah,
there.
yeah,
And you know, I always try to approach it like we're hanging out. Like, I don't want to bug somebody if they're busy or whatever, right? Like,
right.
but there's kind of at that point, it's kind of interesting, because if you're there, you also are kind of, maybe not peers exactly, but you're kind of there to, there's a different, you're at a different kind of level in some cases. I'm still
Yeah,
way low on that level.
I know,
But
but
you
it
know,
breaks
I was
down the
talking to
whole
him about,
fan thing.
yeah, but I was like, hey, what's it like directing this? Because he had directed the Doctor Who thing. What's it like being on the director's side, as opposed to being an actor? You know, we were just like talking. My favorite, that same green room though, I met Stan Lee, and I didn't want to bug him. I'm like, I'm trying to be cool, but like, it's
You're
Stan Lee,
right,
right?
but it's
So
Stan Lee,
I
dude.
I go, because at conventions, I've been to a couple conventions where I just passed him by, and I always knew it was him, because he has the iconic Stan Lee
Yeah,
voice.
yeah,
Like, I was at Comic-Con one year for SciComm, and I passed by, and he's doing his like morning strategy meeting, and I could just hear like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then you I
yeah.
like, and you I don't know, and he was like, there was really this tongue in cheek kind of thing, but I said, you know, hey, I don't want to bother you, you know, I'm just here as a guest as well, and I appreciate, like, thank you for all the inspiration for writing. Like, I was a big comic book fan, I read tons of Marvel, you know, you were one of the inspirations for me wanting to write comics. And quick as a whip, I mean, just like instantly goes, send me the check. And it was just, it was, of course, it was tongue in cheek, you know, kind of, but like that was his kind of sense of humor and just like being cool. But it was, you know, Stan freaking Lee, right?
I know, yeah.
For better, and whether you agree about, you know, some of the stuff that's come out about Kirby and other creators, whatever, you know, I understand it's complicated. It's extremely complicated. The history of Marvel.
Yeah, and like you say, like not to forgive it, but all those dudes were problematic in some kind of way.
Well, I mean, the way, you know, we have documentation for how Kirby was treated, etc. But in general, like there is a history. I was more into like, wow, you know, and you know, he passed a few years later after that convention I was at. But you know, it's one of those things like I just want to say, hey, and you know, I try to be cool with those things. So I'm like in the lowest level of the totem pole as far as comics go. So,
well, I mean,
just being invited
you've
is cool.
A lot, dude. You've accomplished a lot. Well, I mean, I could talk to you all night, man, but we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, I know it's kind of rambly. I hope that's okay.
No, of course, man. That's like no, I loved it. It's perfect, dude. Don't even worry about that. It like I mentioned, we're still finding our way too. So one of the things I like about doing this, we call it the bits and chunks. It's the more podcasty part of what we do. The other stuff might be a little bit more scripted or, you know, kind of a little bit more planned out. This with this, we just talk about whatever. I mean, like on one of them, the second one that Jason and I did, we just, you know, like the only format was like, well, what have you watched lately? Well, I just watched Salem's Lot, and then we ping ponged off into vampire movies in general. So that's what's fun about it, is just it goes where it goes, and that's one of the things I like about it.
Yeah, I'm curious what you have been watching that's not, since you're taking a break. What have you watched horror movie that I need to check out? I'm curious about that.
Here, let me, I have that pulled up. Have you seen Livid?
No, I have not actually.
Oh, that's one that I highly recommend. It's the second movie. The first one that they did was Inside, which was just beautiful movie, but very visceral. Livid, I would describe as a dark fairy tale. You can watch that one on Shudder. That one I really liked. It was beautiful. You know, a lot of really interesting themes. And taking it takes what could be a very boilerplate kind of setup. It's some young people going to a house to basically rob a hospice patient because they think there's treasure in the house, and it goes from there. But it goes into some really weird, dark areas, and it's, you know, like I really liked Inside, but this movie kind of shows that just what kind of creatives the directors are. I really enjoyed that one. Some other films that I can recommend, not as enthusiastically, you know, like, but I still enjoyed them. Beach House was one that wasn't terrible. As you know, it's horror, so we're judging it with on a different sliding scale. It's, you know, none of these are going to be probably objectively great movies, but they're decent horror movies. Beach House had its moments. It's one of those movies where I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from here and how the director kind of evolves. Caveat wasn't terrible. It had some questionable twists and turns plot wise, but it was way more good than bad. I enjoyed that one. You Won't Be Alone was a little bit tougher to recommend. It was probably the most competent of these that I've mentioned, but it was interesting. How would you even describe that one? You just kind of have to watch it. It's basically a witch teaches this younger witch how to make herself look like other people, so she bounces around into other people's lives. Interesting, kind of like I feel you know, kind of contrary in certain ways about it, but that's kind of also what I liked about it. And it's hard to put this one under the the horror umbrella, but I will just because it was such a good movie. Since we're talking about ones, I'm sure you've seen The Menu with Ralph Fiennes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one was. That's
That
just one I.
surprised me.
Yeah.
I also have, because I also watch a lot less of just rich people being terrible people.
Right.
Like
Yeah. It's hard. It's
there's a
like
whole genre of things where people are watching like just lots of rich people being terrible to each other, and I just I can't, like, the industries that I've worked in, I've watched enough rich people be terrible people, and
yeah.
just
It's like I get it.
watching them destroy things. I have a very and it's weird for me too, because I've reached a point in my career where I make more money than I used to. So at what point am I
The rich
not the
person.
same person? I'm
Right.
not a
Right.
millionaire by any stretch, right? But like,
Well, to a
I
poor
worked
person,
hard
you
and I did,
are. How
but
dare you have money?
exactly, I make different decisions than I would have 20 years ago, right?
Right. Right.
When I was still eating ramen and buying, bulk beans and jalapenos and,
Right.
rice. Like, I am a person who at one point, I know what government cheese tastes like.
Yeah.
It's not great. So but
I
boy, do
don't think
I
it's
not
actually
have,
cheese.
it's mostly oil. It's like when Velveeta is the fancy version of cheese, you're in.
You're broke. You're busted.
Oh, look, you sprung for Velveeta. Look at you, Mr.
Oh, you think you're so
Rockefeller.
good with your cheese that actually melts.
Get that cigar that you're lighting with the dollar bill. That, like,
Only the
so I
best
make
for
different
me.
decisions, but
Yeah.
I, that one was one where I was like, okay, I expected one thing and got a different one.
Yeah.
And that was really good. How cool is it, right? And again, not to go too long, but that we have Shudder. Like,
tell me about it.
We would how much. Also, maybe it's good that we didn't have that at college, because how many?
Oh, I wouldn't have got shit done.
I wouldn't have got any. Like,
no,
come on, man.
Not,
you had to go to
I
a
killed
video
it
store
anyway. I mean, like, one of my biggest regrets of college, aside from just being an asshole at times, but that's just life in general. You think back to the person that you were, and some of the things that you said or did may not have been great.
I hung out with you. I mean, you put in the work. I mean, we all did, right? Like, how many times was I at the computer lab, or you were, like, I would come to your place and just hang out, like, because there was nothing else. Like, we'd all be just doing art in our dorm rooms, like, until way late. And I know you told me at some point, you may have to tell the audience, like, if you remember the Abraham Lincoln story.
Oh,
I still remember the Abraham Lincoln story.
So, was a good one.
Sleep deprivation was a thing at the time. But, we all put in the work, but we would have so not, like, how much cooler is it that there's a channel devoted to all of us, all of our tribe? And by the way, have you watched the In Search of Darkness documentaries?
No,
oh man, they're like, it's like 4 or 5 hours a piece, but the last one was on 80s horror specifically, or the VHS
What's it called
era.
Again, one more time.
In Search of Darkness.
Okay, cool. I need to write that down.
Another one I'm going to recommend is a person I know just released a movie called Brooklyn 45.
Okay.
And it's cool. It's cool. It's on, like, I like that people, again, I don't mean this to be name droppery. It's just like, I go to places and I'm like, hey, there's cool people you meet, and you talk to them about movies, and then you're like, oh man, I want to tell people about their movie because they were cool. Like, you've seen Terrified, right? Like, not Terrifier, but Terrified, the one it's from 2017. It's from Argentina. I got to see it at like a midnight movie, and it's, even though it's like several years old now, like, it's one of those ones where I wanted to come home, and this doesn't happen very often. I wanted to come home and turn on all the lights, and all three of them are great. Like, but that's that's like 12 to 15 hours, I think it is, if I remember correctly. And then Brooklyn 45, and then Terrified, which, and again, they did a Q&A at the time, and I was like, dude, that was so scary. And the guy said he's had people come up to him in a good way and go, F you for scaring me so much. Like, you scared me too much, man. I can't believe it. He's like, I loved it, but now I'm messed up.
Well, cool, man. Yeah, I'm
uh,
definitely looking forward to checking those out.
yeah, but it's so cool that we have this channel that we can check all this stuff. It is an embarrassment of riches. Like I don't even know if you're going to college now, like how you're not just how you get anything done. I mean,
Yeah,
I still have to get all of my album stuff done. I still am amazed I get anything done. Like, there's games I haven't started because I know I need to get this next Desert to Mars album, wrapped up. Like it's in the mixing stage right now, and I need to do the artwork or send out the artwork to get it done, and all the stuff, all the biz stuff I have to do to get the album
yeah.
done. And I'm like, I can't start this one game or these two games because that's all I'll do.
Oh, it's become like that with me. Like we, like I do all of the artwork for our thumbnails and that kind of stuff. And like we front loaded it with as much content as we could and got as many, like episodes as we could under our belt before we started to release them, so we wouldn't feel that crunch. And
Mhm.
dude, it's like it's kind of like being unemployed and seeing how quick your money goes. It just burned through it, and I'm like, shit. And here we are, where I'm scrambling to get stuff done. Like I got to get the the artwork done for the next one that we're doing was for a movie called Last Shift, which spoiler I didn't care for. But what
Hmm.
can you do? So I find myself
But
doing, like fan art for movies that I often don't like.
I mean, I probably should be playing a lot more bass because we lost our guitarist along the way. He had to drop out for his own, there was no drama. It was personal stuff.
No,
And
yeah,
I was mainly concerned about his health and well-being and all that, but it does mean I have to find somebody to play the album whenever it comes out. Um, you know, so there's all that stuff, and I should probably be playing a lot more bass and doing a lot more art, and I still try to find that balance. So
oh, that's something that
I
we all
feel
put
you,
ourselves
man.
through. Yeah,
I feel
it's
you.
like I've just bought Diablo 4 and Street Fighter 6 and like, and they just they barely get played. They're great games, but like when it comes to just enjoyment video games, I'm like, I play some Overwatch because my girl likes watching me play that, and that's kind of about it. It's the rest of it is, if I'm playing a video game, it's probably for the podcast for the most part.
Yeah, like I said, I'm playing Final Fantasy, Pixel Remaster because I can pick it up and put it back down really easily.
Yeah, you
You
can
can do
play for
quick, like
short
all the
terms.
quality of life stuff that you didn't have when we were like you know,
The game doesn't
battery backup,
hold you
like
hostage anymore.
yeah, like there were times in the NES days where we'd leave it on, and then also my stepdad would like look and see if it was oh, you play a video game, so we would put tape over the red light.
You're not
So,
going to snitch on me, red light of the SNES. Well,
right,
let's go ahead and wrap it up, man. Again, this
sure.
was a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it too, and hopefully we can do this again sometime, whether it's on the podcast or just shooting the shit in general. Is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
No, man. I mean, I think I plugged stuff for other people just because that's what I prefer to do that. But if you
Gotcha.
like kind of the vibe that I get, hopefully your audience will also dig my vibe and not be like, who the hell? Never have that person on. I'm always scared of that. But
Oh,
if you like
if
it,
anything, I'm hoping to get to get some like runoff from your audience. We just and I love the people that have kind of logged in and checked it out, but it's very few. When it comes to the audience, it's minimal at this point. But we'll get there.
well, it's always because you have I mean, regardless, you have several episodes, you have an established voice, and so it's always a
Yeah.
chance when somebody else, you don't want it to be like the episode of a sitcom where it's like, oh, that guy, why is he there?
Nah,
That's
not at all,
special
man.
guest. Ugh. But
If they
the
don't like
Castle of
Tony,
Horror
then they don't
podcast.
like me. God damn it. So,
Oh man, that's how wow, thanks. But if you like this, and you may hear some of the same stories if you listen to enough episodes, but our Castle of Horror podcast, we're on a break right now, but there's 400 some odd episodes, and Jason does a bunch of interviews as well.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, I
he
checked it
runs
out.
Castle Bridge Media, uh, and man, I mean, he's actually doing a comic book that's through John Carpenter's company,
Oh, nice.
or his wife. Actually, John Carpenter's wife's called is what Storm King, I think it is,
Oh,
called
nice, nice.
Usher Down, and he actually like the trailer had Carpenter music on it, and I was like, Jason, I'm kind of envious, like. Of
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
as much Carpenter movies as we've watched, like your trailer. I mean, we've been friends. He, co-wrote all the comics together and all that.
yeah.
But like, I was like, your Usher Down comic, like, how many times have we listened to Carpenter music on whatever? I mean, soundtracks alone of like, Escape from New York, but like The Thing and like everything, Big Trouble
Oh,
in Little China,
They
like
Live and
yeah, like I was like watching the trailer going, wow. But other than that, like Castle of Horror, and again, my friend Drew, who's on it, does Halloween Man, the comic, which I think would resonate with a lot of the people. And you being a comic book, he's a writer, but you being a comic book artist,
yeah.
and man, if you ever want to do art, I'm sure he's always looking as well. Not to try to get you to have to do art, but
Oh no, man,
if you
that's what
check
this
out
is about.
Halloween Man, like he's always looking to work with cool people. I think it's
Excellent.
really cool. And then Deserts of Mars being my main band. Rain and I kind of put Rise from Fire on hiatus. She's actually writing novels.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's what she's doing. She had her first one come out called Animal Charmer, and she's all in. She's kind of out of music because it's hard. That
It's
business is
tough.
hard.
It
And
is.
so not that writing is any less hard. She's looking for an agent now, but like she had her first. That's mainly what she's doing is writing novels. But my main band is still Deserts of Mars. I have we're working on the LP. We're on Bandcamp and Spotify and all the places that you need to be. But Jeff Henson from the band Duel, he did our last EP. He actually did Rain and I's Rise from Fire album. But he's mixing, engineering. He played guitar on it as well.
Cool.
But the new Deserts of Mars album, I think I'm going to try to shop it around a little bit to see if there's any interest. But hopefully in the next few months, there'll be a new Deserts of Mars album out. 10 songs, full LP this time. But that's what that's been my big thing. I don't do as much comic book writing. Again, the whole thing with Clockworks I was like, man, I don't know. I'm ready to go through that, even though I know that's not the norm.
That's another business. Oh my God. But yeah.
It's a whole deal.
Yeah.
I kind of still want to write some stuff. I still have some ideas, but my main focus as far as creativity is definitely Deserts of Mars. So
Excellent.
If that's the kind of stuff, and again, it's the whole idea is like it's mostly stoner rock, but there's sci-fi stuff in there, and there's a little tiny bit of like sci-fi horror ideas in the next album. Kind of first time some people are hearing it's kind of there's parts of it that are kind of end up being this kind of loose concept album stuff in it as well. So
cool. Well, yeah,
hopefully people will look forward to that.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it in its entirety. What you played me sounds epic. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I heard I got one track back out of 10 and it set the tone. And then I have all the unmixed tracks. They're just mostly raw, but there's some, there's still some effects and stuff like that. And I was like, well, not to belabor it too much, but if the unmixed stuff sounds like how I hear it now, I am, it's hard, man. Cause you record it and you trust a producer, you trust a good engineer.
Yeah. Did that sound good?
And but we built up a rapport over the past like couple of albums I worked with Jeff on. So, I know it, and I've heard, everything that Duel's done over the past few years has all been at his studio. And he did that. Actually, that Mean Mistreater song I sent you was his, so he's done a lot of work. I mean, dude, you had, did some work on, worked with other people on, like a Clutch album and stuff like that. Like he's paid his dues. So
yeah,
being out there,
it's in good
like
hands,
I know it's going to
man.
be good. Yeah. So you throw your stuff out there and you're like, I can't wait for it to get back. But that's been my big, not to, I probably went on too long about the New Deserts of Mars, but that's my
No,
main,
man, that's your
because it's my
baby.
main creativity, man. Like that's my
Well,
band.
and you've it's been a tough road, and I'm sure you're excited to see it kind of nearing the finish line. I'm definitely
Yeah.
excited to hear it. You know what a big like doom stoner rock guy I am. So and like I said, what you played me sounds really good. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to future conversations about life and horror movies and genre weirdness and all that other fun stuff that we talk about. It was is a lot of fun catching up with you, and I
Yeah,
appreciate you
man.
doing this, man.
Cool. Well, thanks a ton for having me on. And anytime, let me know. We'll work out schedules and everything like that. And I
Absolutely.
hope that the people who are listening also enjoy like the conversation. So thanks again for having me on, man.